Welcome to T1TV. I'm your host, Asha Brown, and we have a really exciting conversation going today. I am speaking with Betsy Tracy, who is a friend of mine that I've known for a while. She actually reached out to me through We Are Diabetes, the nonprofit that I run, and we're talking with her today about her recovery from her eating disorder and co-occurring diabetes. I don't like to use the word diabulimia, although that is the coined term phrase, as we know, that's being used. But we're really excited to talk with Tracy, and she has all this open, honest information to share with us about her journey. So Tracy, thank you so much for meeting with me today.
You're so welcome. Thanks for making time to get to talk with me. I'm so excited.
So good to see your face. So I guess what I'd love is, and you know, you and I could probably talk for hours, just keep going and going, but give me a condensed version of a little bit about your struggles, when they started. Maybe let the viewers know when you were diagnosed, when your struggles with an eating disorder started, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, I apologize if I'm long-winded. Just give me a little shuffle.
I'll just interrupt you.
Okay, perfect. So I was diagnosed when I was 12 years old, going into 7th grade, and probably the same as anybody else. I lost a lot of weight and eating and drinking a ton and just going to the bathroom all the time. And my parents thought I wasn't eating, but I was like triple eating. And so I was diagnosed and emergency rushed up to the hospital, where you think going to the hospital they fix you and send you home all perfect again, but it's a total lifestyle change. So I feel like I stepped into my adult world at 12. And then, you know, I lived a totally normal life. I played volleyball. I went to state for track. My diabetes never held me back. It was nothing that ever felt like a burden. It was just a part of my life that I dealt with until I went to college, and it was probably my sophomore year, my 21st birthday actually specifically, and I was wearing a pump for about 6 years, you know, 24/7. It was my boyfriend. And there was this outfit that I really wanted to wear because it was my 21st birthday, and my pump always on my hip. I couldn't wear the shirt that I wanted because it's always tucked up just enough on one side. And so I thought, oh, okay, I'm just going to disconnect just for the night and put it back on when I need. And then I ended up not wearing it all night. I didn't really eat or drink a whole ton, so I was okay. And then I, you know, fell asleep, slept in the next day. Wasn't super concerned. I felt fine. And then I weighed myself like on that Sunday evening, you know, after I hadn't been wearing my pump, and I saw I'd lost like 6-7 pounds. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And I tried to think, okay, I know I wasn't eating a lot, but I mean, what was the thing that happened? And it's because I had taken my pump off, so I kind of accidentally fell into my disorder, not on purpose. And so then it almost became like a game. I thought, okay, so-and-so's birthday is coming up here in a couple weeks. Maybe I'll just take my pump off a few days before, so I'll look a little bit more trim in the pictures. Harmless. Like, I never even thought that it would develop or spiral into what it did. And so then it became, okay, I feel great. People are giving me compliments. They're telling me I never looked better, and I felt great, you know, because I was just drinking water and making up for it afterwards, gain the weight back, whatever. I could lose it again. I found out what my trick was. It was backdoor. No one knows diabetes well enough unless it's your body. And so it started that way. Like, okay, let's see how many days I can go before I have to put it back on, or until I just feel like I'm going to die. And it just got so out of control so quick. And then it was years, and I didn't tell anybody. And people kept telling me, you look so good. So it was feeding this addiction that I had grown. And I was scared to eat in public. I couldn't walk into a grocery store. And before I knew it, I was so, like, deep in this, and I didn't know how to correct it because I had like a disorder. Like, I couldn't eat without crying and feeling guilty, and if I took my insulin I was going to gain weight, and all the anxiety that I had to carry around, and being embarrassed that I let it go this far and let it take over my life, when before it was something that was second hat to me. My diabetes wasn't even an issue until it actually started to control my life. And I haven't had any other diabetic friends growing up. I'm from a really tiny little town just south of Kansas City, so one of 200 in my graduating class, and I'm the only diabetic, so I never had, I feel like, any outreach. And I went to my doctors, but it was always taking care of myself and my blood sugar for them because I knew they'd chastise me. And so in like a complete moment of desperation, I was just Googling, like, what do I have? I didn't even know that it had a name. And so I stumbled upon We Are Diabetes, and I saw the email, and I just sent an email, and I put like emergency in the headline. I'm like, please, I I don't know what's happening with my body. I'm too embarrassed to talk to anybody, but I see your website is exactly what my issue is, and I didn't even, it opened so many doors. I didn't even know that there was a community of other people that were experiencing the same feelings and the shame that I had, and not like other people specifically are shamed for doing this, but I just felt like I didn't have any kind of other outlet, and so I just reached out and I heard back, and it was such a weight off my shoulders to know that I wasn't in this alone, and the community that I did find through the website, and honestly just, and I talked with you, Asha, in a parking lot. I just called on a whim, like I was like, and then you actually emailed me back, and that's what gave me the little flame of hope to call, and you talked to me. I've been there, I know what you're feeling, you're not alone, and even just hearing that was comforting, and it pushed me to go and find a therapist that would be able to help me, and I ended up telling my endocrinologist what my issues were, and they could connect all these dots that I've been leaving out of why my blood sugars were so high, and why I had a DK episode and why I stopped wearing my pump, and that it's okay to not feel okay, because this is such an all-encompassing life change for anybody. And I've been like a super stalwart diabetes little trooper, and I finally fell off the horse like 10 years in, and that's okay. And going right, like,
yeah, just, we'll keep going with your story, but I want to interject and say a couple things here. Like, I mean, what you're saying, I feel like, is so relevant to so many people out there right now. I mean, statistics show that 1 in every 3 type 1 diabetics have eating disordered issues. And it's not, it's not specifically insulin omission, but a lot of it is because of exactly what you discovered, just, taking off your pump for a night because you just wanted to look cute and be a normal person and wear a dress that didn't, like, make everything so complicated. Like, I don't have a pump, but I have a CGM that I wear on my arm because that's the only place that doesn't bother me. But, I still have to change my wardrobe around. It's just diabetes asks you to constantly have to adapt, and sometimes that is just so much work, especially when you just want to be a normal young person. And, what you experienced with feeling so alone and so ashamed is unfortunately kind of the norm, for almost all type 1 diabetics, which breaks my heart, even if they don't have eating disordered issues. And as we continue listening to your story, because, the best part is coming, the thing that, that you're helping others understand is that if you reach out and if you just, hope and reach out and ask for help, people will find you. They will help you, and our community is tight-knit. We don't want anyone to feel alone.
Right.
So you were talking with your endo. You were getting back on track. You started seeing a therapist about your eating disordered issues.
Right, and honestly, like, the transparency that I finally got to feel, being just open and honest with someone and not having to be the only person accountable, and knowing that it's not just me worrying about this, and I finally was open with my parents, and I told them, hey, like, this is what's actually going on, and it broke their hearts too, because why didn't I tell them? Why couldn't I have, what could they have done to help? And there really was nothing. It was just me. And once I could look myself in the mirror and accept myself for who I am and the flaws that I have, that I can't even tell you, like, it just makes my heart so happy, because I'm finally free of, like, this monkey that's been on my back for so long. And I skipped a lot of my story, if you don't mind if I kind of, like, rewind a little bit, like the actual traumatic parts. So it was my senior semester of college, and I was in broadcast journalism, and I did school news, and I worked at the radio station, and I tried to get my hands in as many different kind of news outlets as I could. And in about October of, like, that final semester, my hair started falling out, like, in handfuls in the shower, like out of a movie, like literal chunks, handfuls of my hair. And so I went to dermatologists and all kinds of doctors, and I was like, what is happening? And as my hair's falling out, I had a scalp biopsy where they injected my head with saline and then cauterized the skin out. So I have a permanent bald spot on the back of my head, as I was already balding, about to graduate and go into the career where I was supposed to be on TV and be the pretty talking head, but I have no hair. I was, like, literally bald. And then it was finals week, and my roommate found me collapsed on the floor, in severe DKA with my blood acidity at such a critical level that I should have been in a coma and died, said my doctor. Like, and so waking up in the hospital the next day with both of my arms tied to my bed with IVs in them, and I was wearing a face mask, and I have no hair, like, waking up that day and knowing that I put myself there, like, it killed me. And I know it killed my parents because I tried to tell them a little bit, but then, you know, I graduated and I got a job at a news station, and I'm living the dream. I got hair extensions, and, you know, I covered everything up, and I tried my best. I wore my pump anyway, even though it gave me anxiety, and I fought through it, and I gained a little bit of weight back, and, you know, my clothes fit, and I was always uncomfortable, but I was living my dream, you know, and I was doing what I needed to do, and I tried for a year by myself, and I just kept relapsing and falling into it, and just this cycle that I had, and that's when I did reach out to We Are Diabetes, and it saved my life, to be completely honest, because the way that I was going, my hair had already fallen out, my skin was, you know, all of the effects of prolonged high blood sugar, and I can't even imagine the internal damage that I've done to myself, and that scares me, knowing that I could have controlled it this whole time, but I don't know. And at the same time, being diabetic, it almost forces you to be obsessed with food and calories and numbers and your weight, because you're told if you're not within this certain block of numbers, like, you're bad diabetic. And so we constantly criticize ourselves and put ourselves down anyway, even if we're not doing it externally. We have that constant dialogue in our head of that number's not good enough, so I'm not good enough. And how can you not internalize those feelings when you feel like it's coming at you from everywhere? The media tells you if you gain weight, you're going to get diabetes, and people shame that onto us because they don't understand. And so carrying all of this angst and then feeling not good enough as it is, like, it's so much. And so I finally just broke, you know. And how could you not, when you don't have another resource or you don't have a shoulder to lean on? And my parents, they care and they always listen to me, but they don't really understand. They can tell me a million times.
I'll just interrupt you again. What you just said there is such, I mean, there's a few things. First of all, I think we're all our own worst enemy.
Right.
And when we live with a very individual, critical disease like type 1 diabetes, you are in charge more than anybody else. Even if you have a really structured, excellent diabetes care team who's super involved, like, they're not living in your body, you are.
Right.
So we kind of, we can almost lose our own sense of reality because we're living in this very bizarre body, and it's easy to lose touch with what is normal, because our own normal, even when we're taking care of ourselves, is not normal. And, you know, it's, wow, what you say about the stigma that all diabetics feel, but I would say, and this is T1TV, so we're going to talk about type 1, especially, I think, women growing up with type 1 in this culture, and living with a disease that demands us to look at numbers, no matter, there's even in, you know, treatment recovery programs like the one I was in, I couldn't, like the other patients who were non-type 1s, didn't look at nutrition facts. I did, and you do. Like, we have to. And so, how do you find that balance between acceptance without going into obsession, you know?
Right. And I don't know, it was always something that was so hard for me because it's just hardwired in your brain, like, all the numbers and the calorie intake and what you, like, have to have and what you have to be healthy and be within that A1C range. That is sometimes, like, as a teenager, that's almost impossible because your hormones, at least for me, play such a role in that. And then knowing that I was trying my best and taking my blood sugar every time, and I was playing like 3 sports every season, and I was super active, and I'd still have like 9, like between an 8 and 9 A1C, and they're like, what is wrong with you? Like, I couldn't help it, and it just, I don't know, I feel like I just shouldered it for so long until I finally, like I said, I just broke, like I couldn't do it anymore.
Right.
And we already have the pressure from media and everything else to be these felt little things, and I've just been medium-sized my entire life, and I had that dream. I found my backdoor way to be that size 4, super skinny, effortless, but really I look in the mirror and I loved what I see, but I hated who I was when I was doing what I was doing.
That's really good. And, you know, I think part of this recovery journey too is finding security and peace in our own body that we're born with, you know, like we're all born with this body, and it is who we are. And you know, I look at you and you're stunning, and I'm looking at you talking, I'm like, how could she not think she's beautiful? But we don't ever look at ourselves, you know, we don't see ourselves the way other people see us. And you know, I think you and I have something in common, you know, as an actress my whole life, and you working in front of the camera for yours. I mean, we look at ourselves and we see what others, we have to be. It's kind of a demand. And so again, there's a lot of tough cards dealt, you know, in our situation. And yet, with all of that going on, you have been in recovery now for 6 months. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, at least from my last relapse that I had, where I binge ate and then didn't take my insulin so that I could lose just let it burn off. And I almost use that as an escape. You know, now that I've been through my therapy, like if I blocked out all my feelings because I literally was so like high blood sugar that I was totally out of it. I don't know how I worked full time and made it to work back and forth, but I don't know, going to therapy and actually seeing someone and admitting my faults and knowing that it was okay and that I wasn't going to be shamed for it and no one was mad at me. It was so freeing, and I encourage anybody that is thinking about it, go and do it anyway, even if you don't have a serious, full-out disorder. Go and talk to someone about it, and it's okay. Like, no one is gonna, they're not there to embarrass you or make you feel like what you're doing is so stupid, because I knew there was rational me and irrational me through the whole thing.
And that's so common with eating disorder treatment therapy, is that there's a rational you and an irrational you, the fight or flight. What you also said about the numbing effect of high blood sugars is something I can really relate to, and what a lot of my current clients relate to as well. You know, living in this body that is a demanding body 24/7.
Just get away from it.
Oh, you just want to relax. And so, you know, it's important for us to find stress relief, and it's also important for us to have people that we can just vent to and talk to, even if it's people that we, you know, are online, like you and I. You know, it doesn't matter, but if you hold that stuff in, eventually it's going to start clawing at you, and you're going to want to find an escape, which may not be a healthy escape.
Right, and that's eventually what happened with me. It started pronouncing itself in these ways, and I didn't even recognize it at first. It was just not taking a shot after I would purposely eat like a piece of cake or some ice cream or something, and you can immediately feel like the kind of tingle in your face, and you feel it go through, and it was almost like, I've never been addicted to like any kind of, or used alcohol or drugs or anything, but I learned that my body was accustomed to that feeling, and I knew that was like a release for me. And so I was living in this zombie world where I was just going through the motions, and I really like had no feelings. I didn't have any friends. Like it's weird now that I've like made it to the other side figuratively, like what kind of half life was I living? I was cheating myself of so many experiences and friendships and relationships.
And the good thing is that you realize that now, and you're taking your life back. And what I constantly say is that I was just existing. I wasn't living. Like I was a zombie, you know.
I'm just here.
One question I have that I know a lot of people who are watching this who probably have similar issues is, how did you deal with the feeling of bringing your blood sugars back down to normal? Did it kind of make you crazy at first? Like, did you get anxiety just not being used to having normal blood sugars for so long?
Right, and I think the biggest thing for me really was the motivation behind it, you know, because I did it because it kept me slim, and being slim is beautiful, and beautiful is successful, and successful is I had tiered so many things and made it such a platform for myself that peeling away all of these securities that I had, like having my high blood sugar so I couldn't think through what I was doing. I couldn't feel all of the negativity that people were telling me, because in my industry, like, whatever you say, people are going to hate it one way or the other. Everyone, right? So it was like, it really was my security, and I knew the thing that I was the most anxious about was gaining that weight back, because I know as soon as I started taking my insulin, it wasn't easy. I won't even use numbers, but it was uncomfortable, and I just felt bloated, and having the shakes, you know, from having a normal range where I was easily running in like 300 to 500 at any point of the day, like total uncontrol. I think I even went like 2 weeks without anything, you know. I would stumble in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. I was dizzy. I couldn't even walk up the stairs without just being completely exhausted. And people are like, "What's wrong with you?" And what do? You can't just explain it to anyone. So I was just carrying this weight. But after talking with some other members of the We Are Diabetes team and just having the encouragement that if you give your body what it needs and be healthy again and just trust that all be okay, I didn't believe it. And here I am almost a year later of starting to just slowly introduce it back in, and then take my, you know, even making goals with my therapist of just try to correct twice a day. Like if you're just take a shot, you're cool. And even seeing my meter gave me anxiety. Like it would just make my heart flutter, because I was like, I know it's going to be bad. And then you get I'm bad because my blood sugar is high. Like it just, the whole cycle starts again, and it was too much for me. But I had someone who's really good and worked with me, like put it in a common place where you just see it all the time, and you're pumped too. Like just put it in common place. Right, and then like just start touching it and letting it be, like carry it in your backpack. Just know it's with you. And I know it sounds so childish and like it wouldn't work, but even just slowly bringing my diabetes back into my life and accepting it, it has changed my life for the better. And I've been able, and like I said previous, I was really athletic and I was always involved in doing stuff, and half of the angst that I was carrying was I had destroyed my body so far that I couldn't even walk upstairs. And I used to love running and dancing and going and doing all these things, and I had made it to where I couldn't do the things that I loved, and I hated myself for doing that, you know. And so it's really been a journey for me of acceptance, and I've hung mirrors back in my room because my hair is starting to grow back, and I mean, I'm seeing good things, and my body's almost back to normal just because I've been giving it what it needs, and I'm eating full meals.
Gorgeous. Your hair, I mean, it looks incredible. I'm jealous of it. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard girls and women too tell me about how proud they were of their athleticism and their physical capabilities, and how they have none anymore.
Right.
And that's when they're struggling. And the most empowering thing that I know that you're starting to experience is like, I have strength and energy again. Oh my gosh, you know, you really do feel like you're coming back to life.
Right, and it's almost like I've walked out of a fog. Like my brain I feel sharper, and I'm sure it's the same like when you keep your blood sugar where it's supposed to be, like, oh, this is what normalcy feels like again. I think because I've been so long without it, I didn't even know where home base was. And now that I'm taking all of my insulin and eating correctly, and you know, I go for walks because I'm not super powerful enough for running yet, but just even knowing, I remember the first time when my therapist and my endocrinologist were like, okay, like your ketones are almost about gone, like you're in a place where you can go and you could go do like exercise if you wanted. I literally like fell to my knees crying because I forgot what it even felt like to make my heart get up to the level that it was at. And I know that sounds so dumb, but I could walk upstairs without falling, and I could. It's been a really hard and long journey for me, but it's been so worth it. And really, if I could spare anyone the grief of everything that having an eating disorder like this entails, like, you're beautiful the way that you are, and you don't have to give in to any kind of societal pressures. I want to be able to help someone strike a chord, you know, and you are good enough the way that you are, and you don't have to go through any of the things that people tell you do to be beautiful or to fit in or to be normal.
And I think the most amazing thing that you are probably starting to, you know, also understand and experience is that we feel most beautiful when we're living honestly, and when we're like in touch with ourselves versus trying to kind of fit ourselves into a box, you know, of something we should be or how we should look. And I have no doubt that your story that you just shared in the last, 30 minutes is going to help people because, although each of our stories is unique, so much of what you've gone through is the stories of so many other people, and it's my goal to get everyone to know that this is okay to talk about, and
Right.
it's just so amazing to see you living so fully now. I mean, I'm just so inspired.
Yeah, and like you said about just living honestly, and so getting all this off my chest and being open and honest, yeah, and trying to be rational. Like, my blood sugar isn't going to be 80 to 120 when I wake up after I've let it be whatever for the past 2 years. Like, I can't expect that, and I can't be mad at myself if it's not those numbers. And just being honest, and I just recently got engaged, and I know that I wouldn't get to be at this part of my life if I were still held back and struggling with the issues that I had before, because I felt so broken and worthless, and everything that those little voices in your head tell you and that you finally start to give into. And I know everyone can understand that, but just having the strength to say, no, I'm okay the way I am, and someone loves me the way that I am, even with the scars that I have and some of the crazy tangents that I go on, and sometimes I bleed after injections through my and he's okay with that. And
I do that too.
Right? He'll go run and get me a napkin. I just go, he can hear my voice, and he just goes and grabs me something.
You have little blood droplets all over your bed sheets. I have little droplets all over my sheets because I've tested and I've just gone to sleep and wiped my hand on the pillow and.
Right. Or it just starts to bleed randomly afterwards, and you have, he's okay and he understands. I leave pen needles in his car. He thinks it's cute, or test strips. I leave a little trail all over the place, and it's just, I know it's so much for someone else to take on, and it just lets me know that he really does love me for me, because I have a big personality and a big disease, so bless his little heart, but I'm really happy, and I know I wouldn't have made it without the help from the community.
That's such an inspiring story, and I think I too struggled a lot with, I really worried actually what my husband would do if I was really myself in the beginning, and then, we got married, and then I went to treatment a year after that, which was a big unexpected surprise, and I think I was worried about living fully and having energy and being the real Asha, and if someone would love that, it's daunting, and but also it's one of the most solid foundations you can have when you're having a crazy day or you're just starting to feel a little triggered, is to know, people love me for me. He picked me. This person, cares about me. It's not, something I've done or how I look. It's the person I am inside.
Right. And when you're in that haze of the high blood sugars and the angst and the not wanting to deal with it, that's when you push everybody away, and you don't have the clarity to really take a step back and say, okay, I do have these resources, and people do love me, and I am of worth, and this is okay that I'm not okay, because we're told that we need to be strong and, keep your chin up, and feelings are a sign of weakness, and, just keep it to yourself. And I felt that way for a long time, because how many times can you tell a friend, man, my site really hurts today, but where else can I put it? Because I'm covered in scar tissue. People don't, and you feel like a burden, because they're like, why don't you ever feel good? So it gets to the point where people, I say, it's the story of my life, and you get to the point where people are like, how are you doing? I'm fine, because why go through, my blood sugar was 200 today, but I need to go on a run, and I took too much insulin, and I got low, and I had to eat again, and now I've been like this all day. And people are like, I didn't actually want to know. And so you just kind of have this blanket statement, so it's, I don't know, so much of it is just going through the motions, and just, it's so important to take a step back and just be honest with yourself. And like we've been talking about, just know that even if you don't feel like it, you have such a network of love around you. If it's a friend, grandparent, someone at church, regardless, there's someone who will take the time out to listen to you. And it's important to voice these frustrations that you have, because bottling it up does no. Right.
They're real. They're real frustrations. I think I'm going to have you back on again someday, because there's just so much that you're saying that's just so helpful and clear, but we got to cut it short now because I don't want to go over our time. But I just appreciate you sharing so much of what you've shared, and I know that our viewers do as well. And we'll end the broadcast and then we'll talk afterwards because I can't stop talking to you. But we'll say goodbye to our viewers for now. Thanks, Betsy.
Bye.